The dust of the prairie clung to his boots as the cowboy rode into town, the leather reins creaking softly in his calloused hands, his hat tilted low to shield his eyes from the blazing afternoon sun. He hadn't planned on lingering, he never did, but his horse needed feed. His wagon needed nails, and his life, well, it needed no more than the bare minimum. At least that's what he told himself. The townsfolk had seen men like him before, lone riders drifting in with storms of dust, their hearts locked up tighter than the saloon's safe, their pasts hidden under the brim of a weather-beaten hat. Yet this cowboy was different, though he didn't yet know it. As his boots struck the wooden planks of the general store's porch, he caught sight of her. She was standing by the counter, sunlight filtering through the window and catching strands of her auburn hair, her smile polite yet guarded, as she haggled with the shopkeeper over the price of flour. Something inside the cowboy, a place he thought had long gone cold, stirred alive. He paused, just a breath longer than a stranger should, and in that moment the world seemed to narrow to the sound of her laughter and the gentle way she tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. He didn't know her name, but he knew one thing: leaving town would not be as easy as riding in. She turned then, her eyes green, steady, and curious, locking onto his. For the first time in years, he felt seen. "Can I help you find something?" the shopkeeper asked, breaking the silence, but the cowboy barely heard him. His voice came rough, unused, yet certain. "Just supplies." Yet his gaze didn't leave the woman's face, and when she finally smiled, soft but real, he felt his chest tighten in a way no bullet ever had. Over the next hour, he found excuses to linger, buying extra nails he didn't need, asking about harnesses when his saddle was fine, even offering to help carry her sack of flour when she insisted. She could manage on her own. The town whispered quick, the way small towns do, the strangers taken an interest. But for him, it wasn't passing fancy. He saw more than beauty in her. He saw strength, quiet but unyielding, the kind of strength forged by heartache and survival, the kind he'd always respected. They walked together down the dusty main street, her voice telling him about her father's ranch outside town, about the struggles since her mother passed, about the way she dreamed of leaving but couldn't, abandon the land her family had bled into. He listened, truly listened, and realized her words echoed his own silent battles. By the time the sun dipped low and painted the horizon in streaks of fire and gold, he knew he wasn't just passing through anymore. That evening, as they stood outside the livery, her hand brushed his in the smallest of gestures, yet it felt like a vow. "Don't be a stranger," she whispered, though he knew already he couldn't be. He came for supplies, but he was leaving with something far heavier, far greater, her memory carved into his soul like initials in oak. As his horse carried him toward the horizon, he turned back once, just once, to see her watching him with the same look he feared and hoped he wore himself, the look of someone who had just stumbled into forever. And so began the story of a cowboy who came for nails and feed, but left with the beginning of a love that would haunt his every mile. Friends, if this story stirred something in your heart, if you believe in love that arrives when least expected, then make sure to subscribe to the channel, because more tales of cowboys, courage, and unexpected love are waiting, and you won't want to miss the next ride. The cowboy hadn't meant to return so soon, but the days on the trail grew long with thoughts of her smile, her steady voice, the way her hand had brushed his, and lingered in his memory, like the warmth of a campfire on a cold night. He told himself he was just passing back through, that his horse needed rest, or that he had forgotten supplies. But deep down he knew the truth. He was riding back because of her. When he reached the town again, the streets were busier, wagons rattling, children darting across the dust, and yet all he could see was her, standing outside the little church with a basket of bread, greeting neighbors with a kindness that came so naturally it made his chest ache. She noticed him almost at once, and that same smile, the one that had undone him the first time, lit her face like sunrise. "Back so soon?" she asked, and though her tone was teasing, her eyes betrayed a spark of something more, something that told him she had thought of him too. He tied off his horse and walked toward her, his boots heavy but his heart lighter than it had been in years. "Guess I didn't get all I came for last time," he said softly, and for a long moment, they just stood there, the world narrowing until it felt like only the two of them existed. Over the weeks that followed, He found reasons to stay, helping mend a fence on her father's ranch, sharing quiet suppers under the lantern light, listening as she spoke of dreams she had tucked away because life had been too hard to let them breathe. Each day drew them closer, their laughter coming easier, their silences comfortable, their hearts quietly weaving together a future neither had dared imagine. Yet it wasn't without shadows. One evening, as they sat beneath the stars, she told him of a man she had once been promised to, a man who left when times grew hard, leaving scars that made her wary of trust. The cowboy listened, his jaw tight, but when she looked at him with fear in her eyes as if expecting him to ride off, he simply reached for her hand and held it firm. "I've been running from ghosts my whole life," he admitted, his voice low, "but I'm done running. Not from you." Those words broke something inside her, a dam that had kept her heart guarded, and in that moment she let him in. The town soon whispered again, this time of wedding bells, and though both tried to brush it off, there came a morning when he looked at her across the worn wooden porch of her ranch and knew he couldn't wait any longer. He knelt there, dust on his knees, heart in his hands, and asked her the question he had never thought he'd ask another soul. "Will you be my wife?" The silence stretched, filled with the sound of cicadas and the rustle of the prairie grass, until her tears spilled, and she whispered the only answer he had prayed for, yes. That night, under the wide open sky, the cowboy realized he had come for supplies, but was leaving with the one thing he hadn't dared hope for, a home, not made of walls or fences, but of love. And those storms and trials would come, as they always do. He knew that together they would weather them all, because he had found not just a wife, but a partner, a reason to stay, and a forever he could no longer ride away from. Friends, if this journey touched your soul, if you believe in love that finds us when we least expect it, then subscribe to the channel, because more stories of heart, hope, and the wild spirit of the West are waiting, and each one is a ride you won't want to miss.